Now the impacts from the vulnerabilities. It depends that what type of vulnerability have been exploited and what the data was there behind that particular vulnerability. Okay, so vulnerabilities can lead to various data breaches and data loss scenarios. Okay. These events can have serious impacts in terms of cost and damage to the organization's reputation. Okay. Data breaches and data exfiltration impacts are there. Okay. Data breach is an event where the confidential data is read or transferred without the authorization. Okay. Privacy breach is where the personal data is not collected, stored, or processed in full compliance with the laws, regulation governing the personal information. Breach can also be described as a data leak, you can say. Okay, can be intentional or unintentional. Data exfiltration, a method and the tool by which the attacker transfers the data without the authorization from the victim system to an external network or media. Okay. Unlike the data breach, data exfiltration event is always intentional and malicious. Okay. And data breach is a consequence of the data exfiltration attempt. Identity theft impact. Okay. A privacy breach may allow the threat actor to perform identity theft or to sell the data to other malicious actor. Okay. The threat actor may obtain the account credentials or might be able to use the personal details and financial information to make fraudulent credit applications and purchases. Okay. Data loss and availability loss impacts compared to the data breaches or data exfiltration. The data loss is where the information becomes unavailable either permanently or temporarily. Okay. Availability is sometimes overlooked as a security attribute compared to the confidentiality and integrity, but it can have severe impacts on business workflows. If the if processing systems are brought down by accidental or malicious disaster events, a company may not be able to perform crucial workflows like order processing or fulfillment. Okay, financial and the reputation impacts. All these impacts can have the direct financial impact due to damages, fines, and loss of business. Okay, data privacy breach and availability loss events will also cause companies' reputation to drop with the direct customer. Right, major events might cause widespread adverse publicity on social media and mainstream media. In anticipation of these impacts, the incident handling teams should have should include the public relation and marketing expertise to minimize the reputational damage over there. Okay, then there is third-party risk. Okay, third-party risk first talks about the supply chain. Okay, now high-profile breaches have led to greater appreciation of the importance of supply chain in the vulnerability management. Okay, a product or even a service may have components created and maintained by a long chain of different companies. Each company in a chain depends on its supplier or vendors performing due diligence on their vendors. Okay, a single weak link in the chain could cause impacts on the service availability and performance, and in worst cases, lead to the data breaches. Right? Vendor management is there. Okay, a process of selecting the supplier companies and evaluating the risks inherent in relying on the third-party service. Okay, when it comes to the data and cybersecurity, you must understand that the risk cannot be wholly transferred to the vendor. If the data storage vendor suffers a data breach, you may be able to claim the costs from them, but your company will still be held liable in terms of legal penalties and the damage to the reputation. Okay, so a vendor may supply the documentation and certification to prove that it has implemented the security policy robustly. You might be able to see the evidence of security capabilities like the history of effective vulnerability management program or the product support. Okay, and larger companies usually, ask the vendors to complete a detailed audit process to ensure that they meet the required standard over there. Okay. Now, within the vendor management, system integration is the thing. Okay, that is the process of using components and the services from the multiple vendors to implement a business workflow. Like a workflow allowing the customers to make online purchase might involve the storefront product, a web application firewall, a cloud data processing and analytics, plus the integration with on-prem accounting and customer relationship management and the support ticketing system. So all these different kind of you know activities will be there. Okay, different vendors can be there for this thing, right? So we need to look for the support. Okay, so the vendors and the third party systems will provide the support basically on all these terms. Okay, then outsourced code development. Okay, the problem of effective oversight is particularly pertinent to outsource the code development. And many companies do not have in-house programming expertise. But without such expertise, it is hard to ensure that the contractors are delivering the secure code. Okay, a solution is to use a vendor for development and a different vendor for vulnerability and penetration testing. Maker could not be a checker. Okay, data storage. Okay, uh, there are two main scenarios where for the rest to data when using the third party over there. Okay, first you may need to grant vendor access to your data, and second you may use vendor to host data or data backups and archives. Okay, so the precautions that you need to take is you need to ensure that same protections for the data as though it were stored on-prem, including the authorization and the access management and encryption. Okay, you need to monitor and audit the third-party access to the data storage. To ensure that it is being used only in compliance with the data sharing agreements and non-disclosure agreements. Okay, you need to evaluate the compliance impacts from storing personal data on a third-party system like a cloud service provider or the backup or the archive management service over there. Okay, when it comes to the risk on the cloud-based or on-prem risk. On-prem risk refers to the software vulnerabilities, weak configuration, or the third-party issues arising from the host, servers, routers, switches, access points, firewalls located on a private network installed to a private office or a campus. Okay, many companies use the cloud service provider, okay, to fully or partially support the business workflow. The third-party vendor management, code, or data storage risks, as we have discussed, that apply directly to the cloud as well as to the on-prem. Okay, the software and the weak configuration risk can also apply. Okay, they are not the sole responsibility of the cloud service provider. The clouds operate a shared responsibility model. Okay, that means that the cloud service provider is responsible for security of the cloud. Okay, and the cloud consumer is responsible for the security in the cloud. Understood the difference? Security of the cloud and security in the cloud. Security of the cloud by the cloud service provider means the virtualization technology, the premises, the physical infrastructure and all. Okay. Security in the cloud means the data that you are storing in the cloud. Cloud service providers have provided you some of the utilities, some of the technique, solutions over there that you can implement in order to manage the security over there, in order to protect your data. So security in the cloud is the responsibility of the cloud consumer. Okay. Now, the topic 3, vulnerability scanning technique. There are two topics left for this particular module, and I think it's